Hey, what's going on guys? It's Tom Mason here, back with another video, and today I want to talk to you about 5 ways that you can take your wildlife photography forward in 2024. So let's get into it. Now, to get started, I want you to pick a project. I want you to choose a subject, a location, and preferably somewhere local that you can visit many times over the coming year. Now, the reason I want you to pick a project is because it's about improving your consistency within your work. If you're one of the sort of photographers who, goes on the weekend and you go to different nature reserves and you're always looking for different subjects, the likelihood is that you're behind the telephoto lens and you're coming back with the same sorts of images every single time. Unless you get really lucky with a subject that's super confiding, or it just tends to work for a certain image, you're probably going to come back with the same sort of shots. Now, if you work on a local project, you can pick any subject, badgers, foxes, whatever you've got near to home, and you work on it consistently, you can get past the stage of the simple telephoto and move on to developing your shooting in different ways. You're going to understand your subject, firstly, because you're going to get to know its habits, where it comes from, where it likes to go. Is it feeding in this location? Does it breed here? What is it doing? Is it moving around? And that's going to give you the understanding and the knowledge to position yourself for your images. If there's a little track that it always comes down to, where you can sit at the end with a telephoto, you get those nice shots of it's coming towards you. Maybe you want to move to the side and change over to, panning shots or things like that. You might find a location where you could put a wide angle in and get totally different images than you'd be possibly able to get if you go to a different location every single week. And with time, the project's going to develop your consistency and you're going to create a nice body of work that really helps push your photography forward. My second tip is actually take some risks. Now, this is something that you can do if you've already got a project, because you're not as worried about the subject. If you go after single day shoots and you go to locations where you're extremely excited to just nail that perfect picture, you want to be at 1,000th of a second at f5.6 with beautiful light to get that perfect image, the likelihood is you're not going to take as many risks within your work. Are you going to drop down to 1/20th of a second and pan with it if it's only the first time you've seen a subject? Well, probably not. But if you've got a project, you can now move on and take risks, and that's certainly going to push your photography forward. A lot of the time when I'm working out in the field, I know that if I'm going after a certain image, a wide angle shot, more of a kind of slow shutter speed image, I'm probably not going to make a photograph. But because I'm doing it so consistently, I'm prepared to take that risk for something more interesting. I'm always looking for images that are different and not the same as other people's, and without taking risks in your photography, you're not going to be able to do that. And of course, if you're only doing it, you're going to a location once, you're probably not going to be prepared to take those risks. And it's something that certainly you've got to get into the kind of acceptance that it is going to go wrong sometimes in order to push your work forward, to take those risks, to make different pictures. Now, of course, once you've taken those risks the first time, second time, third time, and you've started to see when they pay out, when they work, when they don't work, that risk starts to drop and you can be more consistent because the skill that you've taken a risk on is now something you're more comfortable with and you can nail those pictures. And when I'm out shooting subjects, a lot of the time I will change around and do panning shots, slow shutter speed images, all that sort of stuff. And because I've taken the risk before on subjects that arguably don't matter as much, I'm more comfortable doing it going forward. Right, so number 3 is all about taking on inspiration, finding a wealth of art, photography, things that interest you and bringing them into your work. Now, a lot of the time, wildlife photographers, they're on Instagram and they're posting the same pictures. You're going to scroll through thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of telephoto shots of wildlife with a gooey out of focus background, gooey out of focus foreground, subject sharp, usually over sharpened in Photoshop, and that's going to be it. And it's really boring. If you want to develop your work further and you only are looking at that, the likelihood is that's the sort of pictures you're going to produce. So you need to expand your horizons and go and look at so much else. I mean, for me, when I'm looking at other photographers' work, I very rarely look at wildlife photographers to inspire me. I look at wedding photographers, portrait photographers, landscape photographers, street photographers, all kinds of different stuff. Because by taking small pieces of different areas and bringing them into your work, you create something that's far more you, that's far more different, and to be honest, that's far more interesting to get out and shoot. And you're really going to find it more interesting to do in the long haul. Now, outside of the kind of internet inspiration, go and meet people, go and watch lectures, go and actually absorb the photography form and the art form in person. Now, one of the great places you can do that is the photography show. It's coming up between the 16th, 19th of March, Birmingham NEC, and it's a great show that I go to every single year. Yes, it's got loads of gear and equipment and everything like that you can look at, but it also has loads of lectures from photographers in a variety of different fields. I will be there. I'm lecturing on Monday between 2 and 2:30. So if you want to join me, I'll drop everything down in the description so you can find it. But there's also, wedding photographers, portrait photographers, landscape photographers. There is a load of behind the kind of editing tutorials, all that sort of good stuff. It's a chance to meet other photographers, to talk to them about their work, and just kind of soak in the atmosphere that is fantastic. And it's a show I go to every single year, and I always try and pop round to a couple of lectures to see a few different people to bring in my own inspiration of things I want to take forward to next year. Then of course you can go check the gear out, the things that you might use to make some images a little bit different before you go onwards. But yeah, it's a great show, certainly one to go and see. And if you want to meet me, I will be there Monday between 2 and 2:30 doing my lecture, and I'll be around all day and everything like that. So if you want to see me, I will be there. Great show, you should join me at it. Now, number 4 is all about finding criticism. Criticism might not be something that you necessarily want, but it's something you need if you want to improve your photography. Instagram, the internet in general, terrible for criticism. A lot of the time you put out a picture and you ask, hey, what do people think about this? And they go, oh, it's lovely, it's great, that's really interesting, lovely smiley faces, heart faces. Absolutely crap. You need people to be looking at it with, an objective eye, who actually know what they're talking about and who can give you that feedback. Now, one of the things I did years and years ago when I was 14 was I joined a photography club. And I think photography clubs get a bit of a bad rep in the kind of modern world, that they're full of older people who, it's all about, showing images and whatever, but actually it was fantastic. I loved my photography club so much because I would go each week, I would talk photography with like-minded people, show them pictures, and they would say, hey, I like it, but the composition I feel is a little bit off, or maybe you've got too much sky. And these little tidbits that you take from different people's opinions can really develop your work. And many of the photographers that I know, especially as a young person, were drastically further into their photography, careers than mine. Many were ex-professional photographers, as well as just people who had been shooting for decades. That knowledge that I could kind of bring into my own work, that just being on tap every single week, just down the road in the local village hall, is fantastic. It is so worth going to. The price of going to a photography club is so minuscule that you should be doing it. Just go, have fun. Seriously, you'll enjoy it. It really is something that I always found great. And additionally to that, if a photography club doesn't sound like something you want to do, well, get a professional photo review. I do them on myself. I have one-to-one conversations with people. You can see it on my website. I'll drop it below. But actually, by asking a professional to look at your work objectively, to say what they like, dislike, to give you feedback, to look at the project that you've been shooting, and to look at it as a whole general of where you may be missing images, how you could do things a little bit better. It might be simple tweaks of your composition, or it could be more about your editing style. All of these things you can take knowledge on, and it's a great investment. Buying camera equipment always feels like something that you should be doing, but actually investing in the understanding, the feedback, the knowledge is really important, and it can certainly take your photography forward. You'd be surprised what an hour and a half of good feedback from a professional can do. And of course, going on workshops as well, paying to be out with a photographer for a day is a fantastic thing to do. Again, invest in your knowledge and not only your kit going forward, and getting good feedback is always important. Just remember that some people don't necessarily know what they're talking about, and if you put your work out there, you get feedback, make sure it's from a good source. The internet, not necessarily the best. Right, moving on to point 5, and this is a big one that I got taught a long time ago by Peter Cairns, and he probably won't mind me saying it, but fantastic wildlife photographer from the UK. Now, he told me, do not edit your pictures straight away. And it's one of the biggest things that's changed my work long-term more than anything else. I always wait 2 weeks, if it's possible. Sometimes I have to do a shoot and deliver it very quickly, but most of the time, if it's my personal work, if it's my long-term projects, I wait 2 weeks before I edit them. I import the pictures, make sure they're safe, back them up, and then I leave them. And I don't look at them. And the reason for that is I need to detach my excitement of shooting them from my very conscious brain that is much more, critical and evaluative of those images to decide if they're any good. Because a lot of the time what you will do is you'll go on a shoot and you'll think, I nailed those pictures, they're really good, I think they're brilliant, I was looking through the viewfinder, that one was stunning, what a great shot. You'll come home, you'll import it. It's a bit of a come down. You're looking at them and they're just not as good as you thought they were. But they are. You're just on a kind of downwards. From the excitement, the enthusiasm of the shoot, looking at them, that may not be as perfect as you thought they were. Now, put 2 weeks in between them, you will find pictures that you thought were terrible are actually much better than you thought you were because you weren't looking at them in the right frame of mind. It's one of the biggest things that you can change about your work, and it will massively improve your work as well, because when you edit, you won't be editing with your heart, you won't be editing with your excitement of the shoot that you've just done. You'll be being critical of your pictures to choose the ones that are the best, rather than just being excited about the images you've just made, and it will massively improve your editing. Another thing that you should be doing to kind of bring this all full circle is that when you edit as a group. So edit pictures and then dump them into a group, into a file, and look at them as a collection. By doing this, you're going to start to see images that you have, images that you don't have, what works well, what doesn't work well. Is there anything I'm missing? I'm going to go out and shoot that. And if you do that all year, working in the process of going on a shoot, making a project, taking risks, evaluating them, getting feedback, then being critical, waiting time before you edit, and then going back out and shooting again, you're going to massively improve your work. I absolutely promise you, it will take you forward in 2024. Right, well, I hope you got some value out of those ideas to take your wildlife photography forward in 2024. Just before I go, I will just say again, I'm going to be at the photography show that is 16th to 19th of March. I'll be there on the Monday on the Shoot to Inspire stage between 2 and 2:30. And of course, I'll hang around to answer any questions, anything like that. I'd love to meet some of you guys. Of course, I'll be around at the show as well. I will just shout out my mailing list as well. If you'd like to hear more from me into your inbox and get first dibs on my wildlife photography tours, I've just released dates for my hare workshops that are going to be in the spring of 2024 this year. If you want to get on those, you need to subscribe to the mailing list. I'm going to be doing another mail out soon with your chance to get on those dates, so be sure to subscribe. I will drop it down in the comments. But other than that, guys, until the next one, get out there, enjoy your wildlife photography, and I'll see you soon.